Hello, welcome back. Today we talk about ECM, the amazing German jazz classical label that exists since the 70s and wrote German music history. Today I have 7 releases from them that I got over the past month, and finally I was able to do the video about those. We have four editions out of these beautiful reissue series, the Luminescence series, and 3 new titles. We start with the 4 titles out of the Luminescence series. And let me start with a legend, although I have to say, when it comes to the Luminescence series, every release is a legendary release. Every release is with legendary musicians, and so that's a bit redundant to say legendary release, but if you hear the name you probably do agree. We have a release from the Canadian pianist Paul Bley. Typical cover art from ECM. The cover art of ECM is as legendary, in my opinion, as the label itself. We have an early release from 1973. Here you can see Paul Bley. And the Luminescence series always uses the original tapes, the original cover art, but gives them a new cover design with those beautiful gatefold releases. On the solo piano release, Open to Love by Paul Bley, we have songs composed mostly by Carla Bley and Annette Peacock. As I said, 1973. And what we have here is a beautiful jazzy performance of this pianist as on a solo piano, so no other musicians. Wonderful. If you are into piano jazz, I think that's your release. Sonically, the piano is put here very, very well, which is not so easy when it comes to piano music, but they did a wonderful, lovely job. I cannot compare it to the original release as I don't have the original. So for piano lovers, jazz lovers, Paul Bley, Open to Love, 1973. And here we have the reissue from the Luminescence series. Also the second release is piano. This time improvisations. And not Paul Bley, but Chick Corea. Came out in 1971, so even 2 years earlier, and again an iconic release by ECM. Here you have the original cover art, now with a gatefold jacket on the back. We have a nice picture of Chick Corea. Yeah, when it comes to Chick Corea, I never get warm with Chick Corea. I don't know why. This is a very personal thing, probably. I also talked here in the vinyl room with some friends, some customers about Chick Corea, and said, "No, Michael, he's great, he's great." Hey, you cannot love them all, but when this one came on the Luminescence series, of course, had to get it, to give it a chance. And yeah, he's an amazing musician, but you cannot love them all. And let me say that I just prefer the way Paul Bley did it or does it. So, but nothing, if you love piano, if you love improvisation, if you love Chick Corea, this is a wonderful release for you. Chick Corea, piano improvisations, reissue in the Luminescence series. Original came out in 1971. Chick Corea. Now we are talking. Bernie Maupin, the Jewel of the Lotus. yeah, that's a record. I love it. I love it. Listen to the musicians that took part in it. Of course, we have Bernie Maupin on reeds, voice, and Glockenspiel. We have Herbie Hancock, piano, e-piano, Buster Williams, bass, Frederick Waits, drums, marimba, left channel, Billy Hart, drums, right channel, Bill Summers, percussion, and water-filled garbage can. And we have Charles Sullivan on the trumpet. Wonderful. An amazing jazz record. Really, really, really cool stuff. I'm really deeply in love with it. It came out 1981. And again, Luminescence series, so original artwork, beautiful gatefold cover with a very, very, very interesting little essay about the guy, the musician, and the record, and highly, highly recommend. Of course, it's sometimes a bit out there. It's not your straightforward Blue Note prestige jazz. It's not. But a really adventurous, beautiful, very, very, very interesting record. Try it out, stream it if you don't know it. Highly, highly recommended. Sound is really good. They really did a great job on that one. Very, very cool. Bernie Maupin, the jewel in the Lotus. Love the cover art too, by the way. Not that typical for an ECM, if you ask me. Here's the back side. And yeah, there's one luminescence remaining now, as we have talked about 3, so there is a 4th one. And that 4th one is also a very, very, very interesting record. It's from Brüninghaus, with the German title Frei, which means something like free floating. Yeah, you see that on the jacket too. You have that. You have this, which is floating with the wind. That corresponds very beautiful with the title Frei. The record came out in '81, like the Maupin, and when I talk about the musicians and the instruments, you get a slight idea about the music on it. We have Brüninghaus on the piano and synthesizer, Kenny Wheeler on the flugelhorn, and John Christensen on the drums. Brynjar Hoff plays the oboe and English horn. So we have a slightly esoteric jazz record. Yeah? The picture says it all in a way. When you listen to the record, when you are through with that record, you know that this cover art is very, very, very well put. In a way, you don't need to say more about the music on the album. I think you get a good idea. And it is a lovely, relaxing, beautiful record that gives you a lot of inspiration and calmness. Really nice. Really nice, and great that that record is part of that Luminescence series. Brüninghaus Frei. Lovely one. So now we come to the newer releases. I got 3 of those, and let's start with a double album from Florian Weber, Imaginary Cycle. Here you have the cover art. Record came out in 2024, so not a totally new one, but a newer one. Double album, as I said. Comes also in a gatefold jacket with an essay. And yeah, Florian Weber plays the piano and is the composer of the music on that album. And we go through the musicians, and then again you got a slightly idea where that record might take you. Annalena Schnabel plays the flute, and Michael Godard plays the tuba and the serpent. And then we have 2 large horn sections. But the horn sections don't bring your equipment to an explosion with their dynamics. They come becomes calm and subtle. Also, there is a beautiful singing and a choir. So it's a very calm, floating double album that, again, like with the Brüninghaus, takes you to a quieter place. And this is an album, if you have the time, you should listen from start to finish to give you the idea about that imaginary cycle, music for piano, brass ensemble and flute. Very interesting, very time-consuming in a positive way, and most importantly, it's worth your time. It's really worth getting into it. So if you are into that spiritual, classical, modern music, that is something for you. The third album, or the second one, excuse me, not third, the second one from the newer ones is Hülsmann Quartet. That's a typical cover art from ECM. Under the Surface. Under the Surface is jazz. Jazz from our days. We have Julia Hülsmann on the piano, we have Uli Kempendorf on the tenor saxophone, we have Mark Modelbauer on the double bass, Heinrich Köberling on the drums, and that gives that record a very, very special touch. We have Hildegunn Øyset from Norway on the trumpet and the goat horn. And that makes a big difference. That makes this record an amazing jazz record. Highly, highly recommended. Really love it. Great sounding record. It has been recorded in Oslo in the Rainbow Studio. And yeah, they did a great job. They really did a great job. This Julia Hülsmann record, Under the Surface, love it. Really, really do love it. And now for an artist, and one of the main artists, at least when it comes to the ECM new series. The ECM new series, I think it started in the mid-80s, is on the classical side of things. And one of those main artists on that series is Arvo Pärt. And what we have here is his Tractus. Arvo Pärt is an Estonian composer. I show you this double album also comes with a beautiful booklet. I show you the booklet. Here you have Arvo Pärt. Here you have the booklet with really nice and informative essays, and that's really worth your time. And I think for a huge release like that one, it's important to have these kind of informations. What's also important is, I hope I find it now, the musicians and instruments, because here you can see that see a picture of the choir. So that's a big one, you know. Arvo Pärt from did I say that he's Estonian? I don't know. He plays that one in a church, and his music is always very, very religious, really, really religious, and he is accompanied by the Estonian Philharmonic Chamber Choir, the Tallinn Chamber Orchestra, Tönu Kaljuste as a conductor, and Maria Listra as a soprano. So that's a huge release, and probably an important release. And I don't know, I listened to it 2 times. I don't know if that's enough to make a final statement. What I can say for this release, just listen to it, try it out, see if that kind of music is yours. It's very, very accessible. So don't be afraid. It's not a freaky classical modern craziness. Quite the opposite. Quite the opposite. Arvo Pärt is for decades now putting his records out on the ECM label, and as I stated at the beginning, one of the main attractions of the ECM new series. And it's always very, very, very exciting when you get a new release from him. So those has been my 7 records I got from ECM. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you are fond of the ECM label like me. And of course, I thank you very much for the time you took with me right now. And yeah, see you on the next one. Thank you. Bye.